After 2 or 3 weeks, Chuck, of good O-line play, of the trajectory moving up, we took a dip this week. And it wasn't a big dip, um, but it was not on the trajectory that we had been on coming into this week. As you can see, these are the guidelines to how I grade this report. Um, it was a little disappointing to see the energy wasn't there. I tell you, I look for my guy Mason McCormick to give me some first down signals. That's how I know that they rolling. Didn't happen. Um, Broderick didn't tackle Aaron Rodgers, thank God, this week, but you didn't see him jumping around on the sideline. He had a couple of early career Broderick Jones type mental errors where he was just checked out, it seemed. But let's just get into it. Spencer Anderson, we'll start off with him. Couldn't had about 5 or 6 snaps at big play. Got to give him credit. Big man had a catch. I've been waiting for our one of our tackles to have a catch. Can't really get as hype as I want to about it because of the result of the game, but it was good to see him not only catch it, he looked like he expected the ball and got about 2 or 3 yards afterwards. Didn't try to juke nobody because that's not what he's built for, right? He's supposed to lean forward and get that extra 3 or 4 natural gravity yards that a 300+ pound man is supposed to get after getting the ball. So that's what he did. Gave us a short third down afterwards. He played solid when he came in at left guard. Nothing spectacular. Gave up a pressure on, and all in all, it was not his best, but he wasn't a main factor as to why some of the protection issues broke down at the end of the game. It was a combination, I think, of Aaron Rodgers holding the ball, waiting for something to break open, and just them teeing off, knowing that we had no choice but to pass. But out of everybody on the O-line, I thought Trai played pretty well, 90%. He is still moving in the right direction. I love the way he comes off the ball. He is quiet about his work, good hand usage, good footwork, comes off the ball. Didn't really have any mental errors. Gave up some, I guess, space on bull rushes, so he needs to go back in the lab and work on that. But by and large, I thought probably he had the best performance out of the O-line. So good to see him trending in that direction and becoming a solidified starter at right tackle, one of the better right tackles, hopefully by the end of this year. Mason had a less than ideal game. This was a step back for him. He had been playing so well. He was our leader as far as performance concerned. He has been the most consistent player, I think, as far as getting downfield, showing energy, coming off the ball, being a reason why that offensive line is moving forward as opposed to back. He gave up some pressures early when Micah was lined up on the inside, and so they kept doing it. Micah was lined up over him 4 or 5 times because he thought he could get on Mason's edge relatively easy. And so you could tell our offensive line was well aware of wherever number one was at, for good reason, because he's very disruptive. I don't think he caused that many issues, but he caused enough. And a lot of times it came from the inside. Zach played solid. Um, this is kind of what he's been. Not spectacular, but solid. No snap issues. A couple of times I thought he could have made some better calls, especially on empty protection. There was one where we had a 5-down look. I don't know if they do 5-down, Charlie, like we used to. When you got 3 techniques and a Mike walks over the center, 5-down means each lineman has whoever's lined up against him, and usually you set back because some sort of twist is coming. But they did a straight rush. Zach called the Mike to the right, and for some reason it didn't get to Isaac. And so number 7, Quay Walker, came free right down the middle and hit Aaron Rodgers on that pass he threw to Calvin. Thank God Calvin was smart enough to come back to get the ball and draw that pass interference. But that needs to be completed, and that needs to be a hit taken off the quarterback. But by and large, I thought Zach did well. Isaac played well while he was in, and then you could tell that his pec was hurting him. I think he tried to go past the point of where he did, and he finally came to and said that he couldn't continue anymore. A pec is nothing to deal with, man. I'm not sure which pec it is, but if it's your inside pec, you cannot punch, you can't extend. You have no strength when they get into your body. And so for him to even try to do that, I commend him. But hopefully he didn't injure it anymore by trying that because we need him out there. He's been doing good. He's been on an upward trajectory too. You can tell that he's been communicating a lot better. But when he went out, you could tell the drop in play for Broderick happened. Broderick wasn't his normal energetic self. His arrow had been moving up, and this is probably his worst performance since week 4. Some mental errors, some just lack of effort plays that you just can't have on the backside of plays. There was a toss play that it ran for 4 yards, but if Broderick had blocked who he was supposed to, it would have went out the gate. And I hope Coach Meyer brings this up. It's a very good coaching point of the importance of backside blocks because oftentimes the guys on the backside feel they don't have an impact on the play. And it's usually that guy that's hustling, that defender that's hustling, that prevents a moderate play from becoming a big play. And that usually comes from the fact that the backside tackle or guard did not do their job and hustle and block that backside guy off. And that happened a couple of times with Broderick. So by and large, the O-line as a whole took a step back. It was disappointing to see. They weren't horrible. Don't get me wrong. They weren't horrible. I thought Aaron had time to make some big plays. I think he was well aware that Micah was on the other side of the ball. And so he wanted to get the ball out and not give him or Rashawn Gary time to get to him. But there were a couple of times I thought he could have stepped up in the pocket versus rolling out and made some plays downfield.
Yeah, and I think the one question I have for you as I look at this is we're approaching kind of that midway point of the season. Do you see anyone on this offensive line based off your grades that is on a Pro Bowl trajectory season?
I thought if anybody had a chance right now, it was Mason. Troy is playing the best consistently. Zach is playing good, don't get me wrong, but it's just like okay. Like if I had to place him amongst center, I would place him squarely at like 12 or 13. And that's just slightly above average type of play. He's not world beating. I think Zach or Troy can get there. But if we're not running the ball consistently, and because we are protecting the quarterback, first time we gave up sacks in 3 games, but we gave up 3 sacks and a couple of other hits on the quarterback, which can't happen. And one of them is going to be attributed to Troy. And so when they do Pro Bowl numbers at the end of the year, they're looking to see how many sacks he gave up. That was his first one, I believe, that Rashawn Gary got looping around on the inside after Micah pressured Aaron to step up. And so to answer your question, no. And that's largely because we're not putting up the numbers that Pro Bowl offensive linemen for teams that Pro Bowl offensive linemen come from on the offensive side of the ball.
And second question, there was a play in there that happened, and a lot of people were confused because they didn't understand what was going on. Aaron was pushing tempo. Zach Frazier gets to the line of scrimmage, and he puts his hand on the football, and then the rest of the guys go back into the huddle. For people who may not necessarily understand what happened in that particular play, asking why he did not get back to the huddle, can you explain to people what was going on there?
Yeah, once the center touches the ball, he can't take his hand off, or it's a penalty. Simply put, and for a young guy to know that, I give him credit because he thought it was no huddle, but it ended up being a huddle. Zach went straight to the ball, touched it, realized that he couldn't come up, and just stood there. So actually, I give Zach a lot of credit because that's a rule that not a lot of linemen know. But as a center and somebody that's played center his entire college career and now in the NFL, he knew it and he stayed there until the rest of the huddle came and they communicated to him what the play was. So good job, Zach. But I know he knows next time to make sure that it's not no huddle because that's an uncomfortable position to be in that dang on long. So us linemen don't need to be having bent knees that long, CB.
Hey, that was it. Like you said, it was a smart play. And it was a time he was like, hold on, I'm tired of being in that squat position where he took a knee, hand on the ball, turning around just to hear what was going on back there before everybody got to the line of scrimmage. But to your point, that was an excellent heads up play by a young offensive lineman understanding the rules.
Also, another heads up play was one that we did not get credit for, that penalty, which was weird. The most obvious offsides I've seen not called happened on that first drive out of the third quarter on a 3rd down and 9, which would have made it 3rd down and 4. We all know how great Aaron Rodgers is at getting the defenders, the opposing defense to jump off sides, or for him to catch a 12th man running off the field. He's notoriously good at that. And so Aaron caught him again. Guy, obviously, the nose tackle jumped off sides when Micah pushed him into the line of scrimmage, and they even huddled afterwards. They knew they were in the wrong. Zach did a good job of snapping the ball and making sure he still had time to throw the ball. But that's one that was missed, and that was just, you can't, as a referee, that's an obvious one that can't go uncalled.
Yeah, and that was tough because you think you have a free play as a quarterback. You're taught once you see that happening, hey, chuck one up in the air. You keep big completion. Maybe there's a pass interference call. There's going to be something positive for the offensive side. And unfortunately, if the ball was thrown, everybody's turning around assuming that it was going to be a 5-yard offside penalty, and then they huddle up and the play's not called. That was a missed opportunity for a new set of downs. And that was just one of those ones again. I just don't think with this particular officiating crew, I don't think any of these guys in this particular crew will be officiating the Super Bowl based off the grades.
Right. That was a big miss right there. But we got some more stuff to talk about. The Colts are coming into town. And that team looks like one of the best teams in the NFL, if not the best, especially that offense.